Hi you guys, I have done other videos on carbohydrates and protein. So today I wanted to talk about fats as our third macronutrient. So all of our food is comprised of macronutrients, carbohydrates, fat, and protein. And a question that I get often is, should I buy non-fat yogurt or non-fat dairy products? And the answer to that is it really just depends. It depends on where you want to get your fat from during the day. And first, it's helpful to understand how much fat that your body needs per day. And the dietary guidelines for adults recommends that we have about 20 to 35% of our total calorie needs coming from fat sources. So for example, if you need 2,000 calories per day, about 44 to 77 grams of fat per day, and about 22 grams coming from saturated fat. So not all fat is created equally, and that's important when you're tracking macronutrients. It's still important to make sure your food quality does matter. So that's what we're going to talk about, is more the different types of fats and why they're more beneficial than others. So dietary fat is essential for our body. It helps to protect our organs. It keeps our bodies warm. It helps with nutrient absorption, and it helps to produce certain hormones for our body. So it's definitely necessary. It's just the total amount per day that we need to be more thoughtful about. So when we talk about the healthy fats, these are our monounsaturated and our polyunsaturated fats. And these types of fats have one or more double bonds. They're typically a liquid at room temperature, but they can start to turn to a solid when they are chilled. And omega-3 fats are a type of polyunsaturated fat. Our body doesn't naturally make omega-3, so it is important that we get this from our diet. And examples of foods with omega-3 fatty acids or polyunsaturated fats are things like salmon, avocado tuna, walnuts, ground flax seeds, chia seeds, hemp seeds, soybean and corn oil, eggs. Eggs have both poly and mono unsaturated fats as well as a little bit of saturated fat, but really not significant. And then our omega-6 fatty acids are coming from monounsaturated fats. An example of these are things like peanut butter, avocado, olive oil, safflower oil, nuts. And these are typically very easily consumed in the American diet. So that's why you hear more about the omega-3 fatty acids, because those are typically things that we're not consuming as easily in our diet. So it's something just to be aware of in that sense. And then the saturated fats are typically solid at room temperature, and these include foods like red meat, whole milk dairy sources, cheese, coconut oil, and commercially prepared baked goods. And it's important to consider the foods that you are choosing with saturated fat. So it's not that you need to completely eliminate these foods from your diet. It's just being thoughtful about the foods that you're consuming that do have saturated fat. So for example, a piece of lean sirloin steak has other nutrients in it, such as B vitamins, iron, and protein that you're getting in addition to that. Also, dairy foods offer protein, carbohydrates, calcium, phosphorus, potassium, and other vitamins. So you're getting so much more quality and nutrients out of these foods versus processed high-fat packaged foods, which don't really bring much else to the table. So it's basically, you're getting mostly just fat from that food without other nutritional quality. Research has indicated that saturated fat isn't solely to blame for cardiovascular disease risk. Where we're seeing the most risk factors are where diets are very high in saturated fat in addition to simple carbohydrates. So basically diets that have a lot of added sugars and saturated fat. And this is seen very readily in the American diet. So lots of high fat diet with added sugars, simple sugars, processed foods, and this is where we're seeing more of the implications to our health. And then trans fats are artificially created. They're created by adding hydrogen to vegetable oils, and this makes them more solid. So this therefore increases their shelf life. So the reason that food companies do this is to increase the shelf life so that way it doesn't go bad as fast. And these are often used, trans fats are often used in fast food, processed foods, peanut butter, baked goods, and condiments. The ingredients, so it's important to look at ingredient lists on the nutrition label, and this will list partially hydrogenated and hydrogenated under there to identify them. So peanut butter is one that I think is overlooked, where that is typically in like processed peanut butter. So typically, if you can, buy the natural peanut butter, where it's peanut, salt, is typically the best way to go in that regard. Trans fats can increase our LDL cholesterol, which is like our lousy cholesterol, which isn't as healthy for us, and it can decrease our HDL cholesterol, which is our healthy cholesterol. And this is where we can see increased risk factors as well for cardiovascular disease. So in conclusion, fats are definitely an important part of our overall diet and health, providing vitamins and minerals and for hormones to function properly. So just being more mindful of our portion sizes in fats because they are higher in calories. So fats have 9 calories per gram versus protein and carbohydrates have 4 calories per gram. So they can add up more quickly in terms of overall calorie density in our diets. So with these foods and other foods, it's helpful to just make sure you're measuring them more when you're eating them. So when you're when you're having nuts, definitely pre-portion them, taking like a 1/4 cup or less, even like a couple tablespoons, and adding them to, yogurt or something else you're incorporating with them. Same thing with cheese, and making sure like you're measuring that out. That can add up super fast, especially when we're having snacks. And peanut butter too. So if you're having that, measuring 1 or 2 tablespoons depending on what your overall meal is looking like for the day. So let me know if you guys have any questions about that topic, if that was helpful, and anything else that you're curious about. So thank you so much for joining me, and I'll see you next time.